any conflict that you or I would ever find ourselves in, but the most important thing we have to remember is the base or the stance that we're in the midst of that conflict. If it's a situation where you cannot escape the scenario, you have to stand and fight in some way. How you are standing in that conflict, the basic position and posture that you're in has everything to do with whether or not you're going to be able to deal with it well and survive it or become victorious in the end. Spiritually speaking, when it comes to temptation, the world, the flesh, the devil, the spiritual stance that we find ourselves in, the spiritual base that we're standing on, has everything to do with whether or not we survive that temptation or whether we fall into sin. Physically, it's the same way. Physically, when it comes to conflict, if we have a horrible base and we're standing very poorly, then our chances of surviving that physical conflict can be pretty dismal. Let's say this is our good guy and I'm the bad guy. And let's say in a conflict, crisis situation where he cannot get away, he has to deal with the conflict. His stance has everything to do with how he's going to be able to deal with it, obviously. And let's say he gives us the typical standard operating tough guy stance. Looks something maybe along these lines here. Got the arms crossed, looking kind of tough, feeling kind of bold. Terrible foot position, terrible base here. Or maybe it's like this, where he's got the hands on the hips, this kind of a situation here. The reason this is so bad is he has no base, no balance. If he gets hit, any impact or energy comes at him, we see what's going to happen to him. He's going to end up stepping back. He has nothing to stand on. So let's give him what we would call maybe the 80-20 stance. 80% of your weight on your back leg, 20 on the front. The Marines may call this basic warrior stance. The idea is you've got a good base, knees are slightly bent, about 80% of the weight on the back, 20 on the front, shoulders in good position, good posture up top. That way, any energy comes at him to hit him, he's ready for it. Not only does the stance say to the bad guy, I'm prepared, I have some idea what's going on here, but it also prepares him physically to absorb the energy if he gets hit, if he gets pushed. His knees, his hips are going to take some of that in, okay? So watch what happens when I give him that same shove, that same push. Nothing. And I gave him a little harder shot there than I did previously. Let's do it again, a little bit harder, all right? Still, he doesn't fall over. Not only does he see it coming, he's just ready. He's anticipating. He knows the crisis is upon him. He knows the conflict is there. He can't run from it. He can't get away. He can't seek an escape route. He has to deal with it. And so his base has everything to do with his ability to handle it. Second to that, he's got to protect himself. He's got to protect the vitals. He's got to protect the eyes, the throat. He's got to protect the heart, the organs, the groin, all the vital areas. Now, his arms can take things that his throat can't, for example. I can poke him in the shoulder, hit him in the arm, but I can't do the same thing to his eyes or his throat without causing some serious damage. So he needs to protect the vitals. Again, everything from about here to the groin area and down the center of the organs, he's got to protect that. That's why, thanks be to God, we have arms. So the arms come up into position to protect. Now, anything that comes at him, his arms can take. You can cut the arm can be bleeding. It's much better than to have your organs bleeding. So again, those arms are there to protect. So anything comes at him, he's ready just to knock it out of the way. There you go. Other side. Okay, again. Okay, you see his arms are in position, ready to go. Now, he doesn't reach too far out. Something like this isn't going to hit him. He's not going to block up here. That's not going to hit him. He's going to protect the vitals. If it comes up high, if it comes down low. Okay, he's ready, and that arm comes right back into position. This basic fight stance, this basic posture gives him the opportunity to not only absorb energy down at the legs and the hips, not only take the impact, but also to protect the vitals when something comes at him, trying to blind him, trying to get to him in the organs area, he's ready to go. Basic stance, basic block, basic protection, basic beginning of any conflict in order to respond properly and survive it. What you saw in that example is that the good guy learned the good stance, the 80-20, for example, or that basic warrior position. He now has a base to stand on. So when the conflict comes to him, when it hits at him, the energy is absorbed, he's able to respond, he's able to deal and protect and defend. Now, from there, as he continues to train and develop, he not only can defend and protect the vitals, he can also learn different ways to block and then how to strike back, how to come in with the right weapons, once he learns and trains even more so. The 80-20 split, you could say, in the spiritual battle, for example, would be the Word of God and the teachings of the faith. Front leg, Word of God, back leg, teachings of the faith. When it comes to the temptations of the world, the flesh, and the devil, if we don't have a good stance, if we don't know that Word of God, we don't know the teachings of the faith, the teachings of the church, then we're doomed to be knocked on our backside repeatedly over and over by these temptations. When it comes to protecting the vitals, the eyes, the throat, the lungs, the organs, the groin area, when it comes to protecting the vitals so as not to be taken out of the fight quickly, the arms come up to protect. And those arms move and are able to respond to the impact as it's coming towards it. Now, what that is like is prayer and sacraments. In the midst of the battle, prayer and sacraments always held high, always engaging in that conflict, always ready to go, leading the way, is our best defense and our best strike option when it comes to dealing with the temptations, world, flesh, and devil. But the bottom line is, if we do not train these things spiritually or physically, we will not be prepared to deal with the attacks, the world, the flesh, and the devil in either the spiritual realm or the natural realm.